December 21st, 1944. 4:47 hours. Dom Bütgenbach, Belgium. The Ardennes forest stretches dark and silent under 18 inches of fresh snow. The temperature sits at -7 degrees Celsius. Visibility extends maybe 40 meters through the morning fog that clings to the frozen ground like a burial shroud. Staff Sergeant Henry F. Warner crouches behind his Browning M1919 A4 machine gun. He's 23 years old, 5 foot 9 inches tall, 164 pounds, most of it lean muscle earned through 2 years of frontline combat. His hands, wrapped in wool gloves with the trigger fingers cut away, grip the weapon's handles. The Browning weighs 31 pounds empty. The ammunition belt feeding into it adds another 14 pounds. Warner's backpack contains 4 more belts. 63 pounds of metal, wood, and lead before counting his M1 carbine, bayonet, grenades, and winter gear. The fog thickens. Warner can hear them before he sees them. Boot steps crunching through snow. Hundreds of them. Maybe thousands. The rhythmic creak of tank treads grinding frozen earth. Commands shouted in German, the words sharp and precise in the pre-dawn darkness. He counts his remaining ammunition. 247 rounds in the current belt. 4 belts remaining. 1,000 rounds total if everything works perfectly. If the gun doesn't jam from the cold. If he lives long enough to fire them all. Behind Warner, 300 meters down the slope, his battalion holds a crucial crossroads. The 38th Infantry Regiment, 2nd Infantry Division. They've been fighting for 5 straight days since the German offensive began. They're exhausted, undersupplied, down to 60% strength. If Warner's position falls, German forces pour through the gap and hit the battalion from the flank. The entire defensive line collapses. Malmedy falls. Liège opens up. The German offensive cuts Allied forces in half. Warner watches shapes materialize through the fog. Gray uniforms. Hundreds of them. Behind them, the unmistakable silhouette of armor. Panzer IVs, maybe Tigers. He can't tell yet through the murk. His orders are simple. Hold this position. Delay the enemy advance. Give the battalion time to consolidate their defenses. How long? As long as possible. What happens if he fails? Thousands die. Maybe the war extends another year. Maybe Germany breaks through to Antwerp and changes everything. The shapes move closer. Warner's finger finds the trigger. What happens next will earn him a Medal of Honor. But right now, in this frozen moment before dawn, he's just a kid from Pennsylvania trying not to die. 5 days earlier, December 16th, the 2nd Infantry Division occupied defensive positions along the Belgium-Germany border. They'd been rotating through this sector for rest and refitting after brutal fighting through France and into the Siegfried Line. Warner's company, Company A, 1st Battalion, 38th Infantry Regiment, held positions near Krinkelt-Rocherath. These weren't combat positions. These were rest areas where green replacements learned basic patrol procedures and veteran sergeants caught up on sleep. At 5:30 hours on December 16th, German artillery transformed the quiet sector into hell. Operation Wacht am Rhein. Hitler's last major offensive in the West. 3 German armies, 29 divisions, crashed through the Ardennes forest. The plan called for capturing Antwerp within 1 week, splitting Allied forces, forcing a negotiated peace. Everything depended on speed. German planners calculated they had to reach the Meuse River in 48 hours. Every hour of delay meant Allied reinforcements arrived, winter weather worsened, and the offensive died. The 2nd Infantry Division took the full force of the 12th SS Panzer Division Hitlerjugend. Elite troops, fanatical, experienced. They'd been bleeding American units since Normandy. Their orders gave them 36 hours to break through the 2nd Division and drive west. They had 200 tanks, 15,000 men, complete artillery support. Warner had arrived at Normandy on D-Day +4, June 10th, 1944, Utah Beach. He'd fought through hedgerow country, across France, into Belgium. He'd earned his first Purple Heart at St. Lo when shrapnel caught his left arm, kept fighting. Second Purple Heart came during the Siegfried Line assault when a mortar blast knocked him unconscious for 6 minutes, kept fighting. By December 1944, Warner had survived 6 months of continuous combat. Most men broke before 3 months. Warner kept coming back. The 38th Infantry Regiment fell back from Krinkelt-Rocherath on December 17th and 18th, fighting withdrawal, delaying action, buying time for other units to establish defensive lines. Company A suffered 42% casualties in those 2 days. Warner's original machine gun crew, 4 men, died on December 17th when an 88mm shell hit their position. Warner survived because he'd been 50 meters away, retrieving ammunition from a destroyed half-track. By December 20th, the 38th Infantry Regiment established new defensive positions anchored on Dom Bütgenbach, a small village, nothing special except geography. The village sat on high ground, overlooking a crucial east-west road network. Whoever controlled Dom Bütgenbach controlled access to roads leading to Malmedy, Stavelot, and ultimately the Meuse River bridges. General Walter Robertson, commanding the 2nd Infantry Division, knew this. So did SS Standartenführer Hugo Krass, commanding the 12th SS Panzer Division. The regiment's defensive line stretched 3 kilometers, too long for the remaining strength. Gaps existed between company positions. Natural approaches allowed German armor to bypass strong points. The battalion commander, Lieutenant Colonel Frank Murdoch, needed time to move reserves, reposition anti-tank guns, coordinate artillery support. He needed 24 hours minimum. He asked Warner if he could buy 12 hours holding an exposed forward position overlooking the most likely German approach route. Warner said yes. The position sat 300 meters forward of the main line, a small depression between 2 rises, good fields of fire across 800 meters of open ground, but completely exposed. No bunker, no foxhole deep enough for protection, just a shallow scrape in the frozen earth. Some logs for overhead cover, and Warner's Browning. Enemy artillery could hit it easily. Infantry could flank it from 3 directions. Armor could approach to within 200 meters before encountering obstacles. Warner arrived at the position at 18 scar hours on December 20th. He carried his Browning, 2,000 rounds of ammunition, 6 grenades, and his M1 carbine. He had no radio, no communication except a field telephone line running back to company headquarters, no support weapons, no backup crew. Battalion intelligence estimated German forces would probe the sector after midnight. A full assault would come at dawn. Warner had maybe 8 hours before facing an entire regiment supported by armor. The Browning M1919A4 entered service in 1919. Manufactured by Colt, High Standard, Saginaw, and Rock-Ola. Warner's weapon carried a Saginaw manufacture stamp, dated 1943. The gun weighed 31 pounds. Overall length 41 inches. The tripod added another 14 pounds. Total system weight 45 pounds before ammunition. The weapon fired .30 Dar 6. Springfield cartridges, standard ball ammunition. Each round weighed 152 grains. The gun cycled at 400 to 600 rounds per minute, depending on how you controlled the trigger. Effective range extended to 1,500 yards for area targets. Point targets out to 800 yards, if the gunner knew what he was doing. Warner knew what he was doing. Standard doctrine required a 3-man crew. Gunner, assistant gunner, ammunition bearer. The assistant gunner loaded belts, watched for targets the gunner missed, and took over if the gunner got hit. The ammunition bearer hauled extra belts, usually carrying 1,500 2,000 rounds distributed in metal cans. Together, the crew could maintain sustained fire, rotate positions, and provide covering fire while moving. Warner had no crew. He loaded his own belts, watched his own sectors, carried his own ammunition. The physical demands alone should have made sustained combat impossible. Loading a 250-round belt while maintaining fire discipline required both hands. Changing positions meant disassembling the gun from the tripod, carrying 45 pounds of weapon system plus ammunition, setting up again, and re-establishing fields of fire. A trained crew accomplished this in 90 seconds. One man needed 4 minutes minimum. The cold created additional problems. At -7 Celsius, metal became brittle. The gun's recoil spring stiffened. Oil thickened in the receiver. Without proper maintenance every few hours, the weapon would jam. Warner kept a can of light oil in his coat pocket, warming it against his body heat. Between engagements, he'd field strip the bolt, wipe it down, apply fresh oil, reassemble. He did this by feel in the darkness because any light drew fire. The Browning had no modifications. This was a standard issue weapon. What made Warner special wasn't the gun. It was how he used it. Standard doctrine taught firing in 6 to 9 round bursts. Conserve ammunition. Prevent barrel overheating. Warner would fire longer bursts when necessary. 20, 30, 40 rounds. He'd learned in Normandy that killing the first man in a German squad stopped the whole squad. They'd take cover, reorganize. Those extra seconds let Warner shift to the next target. The gun could handle it. Warner could handle it. The question was whether the German infantry could handle Warner. Henry F. Warner grew up in Allentown, Pennsylvania. Born February 12, 1921. His father worked steel mills. His mother cleaned houses. Warner was the second of 4 children. He stood 5'9", average height, but built solid from working construction jobs starting at age 14. When he registered for selective service in 1940, he weighed 158 pounds of muscle and bone. The Army inducted Warner on March 3, 1942. He completed basic training at Camp Croft, South Carolina. His drill instructors noted he was quiet, didn't complain, didn't volunteer for anything, didn't stand out. Performance evaluations rated him satisfactory. Nothing exceptional, nothing concerning. Just another kid from Pennsylvania going to war. Warner received machine gun training at Fort Benning, Georgia. July through September 1942. Here, instructors discovered something. Warner could shoot. Not just adequate, not just good. Warner understood ballistics intuitively. He'd calculate range, wind, and target movement without conscious thought. His first qualification, he scored expert marksman. Every subsequent qualification, expert. Instructors tried to push him towards sniper school. Warner declined. He preferred machine guns. Liked the idea of covering other men, protecting his squad. Initial assignments sent Warner through advanced infantry training, then to the 2nd Infantry Division, forming up at Camp McCoy, Wisconsin. His first sergeants doubted him. Warner was quiet, didn't project authority, didn't bark orders, didn't match the stereotype of what a combat leader should be. They kept him as a private, let him handle ammunition, kept him away from actual gunnery positions. Warner proved himself at Normandy. June 10th, his company pushed inland from Utah Beach. They hit German resistance at a small village. The company's lead machine gun crew got pinned by a German MG-42. Warner was humping ammunition. He saw his sergeant go down, saw the gunner panic. Warner dropped his ammunition, grabbed the Browning, set up in 30 seconds, and killed the German gun crew with a 60-round burst at 400 meters. His company commander promoted him to sergeant the next day. Warner's motivation was simple: stay alive, keep his squad alive, go home when this ended. He wasn't fighting for democracy or freedom or ideology. He was fighting because the army sent him to fight, and the fastest way home was forward through Germany. He wrote letters to his mother every week. Short letters. Never mentioned combat. Just said he was fine. Weather was bad. Food was terrible. Miss you. Previous acts of courage accumulated through 6 months. At St. Lo, Warner held a position for 4 hours while his company withdrew. Killed 37 Germans. Earned his first Silver Star. During the Siegfried Line assault, he carried a wounded lieutenant 600 meters under artillery fire. Earned his second Silver Star. His company commander recommended Warner for battlefield commission. Warner declined. Wanted to stay with his squad. Didn't want to become an officer who gave orders from behind the line. If you want to see how Henry Warner's 12-hour stand against an entire German regiment changed the Battle of the Bulge, please hit that like button. It helps us share more forgotten stories. Subscribe if you haven't already. Back to Warner's frozen morning in Belgium. 5 and 12 hours. Warner sees the first German soldier emerge from the fog. Single scout. Feldwebel rank insignia. 30 meters out. Too close. Warner doesn't fire. Killing one scout alerts everyone. The scout moves laterally, checking approaches. He's looking for American positions. Warner freezes. The scout turns away. Continues moving west, disappears into fog. Warner knows what's coming. Scouts first, then probing attacks. Small units feeling for weak points. Then the main assault. He has maybe 30 minutes. He checks his ammunition. Confirms the belt feeds smoothly. Tests the traversing mechanism. Scans his sectors. 5:34 hours. The fog begins lifting. Warner sees them, 200 meters out. Company strength formation, at least 120 men. They're moving in squad columns, textbook German assault formation. Behind them, more shapes. Another company. Maybe more. Warner counts quickly. Estimates battalion strength. 800 men minimum. He has 1,000 rounds. The German formation moves closer. 180 meters. Warner chooses his moment. The lead squad hits 150 meters. Warner opens fire. The Browning hammers. 6-round burst. The lead German drops. Warner traverses right. Another burst. 2 more fall. The German formation scatters. Men dive for cover. Sergeants shout orders. Warner keeps firing. Short, controlled bursts. He's not trying to kill everyone. He's trying to stop the advance, pin them down, force them to deploy. German return fire comes immediately. Mauser rifles crack. MG-42s rip the air. Bullets snap past Warner's position. Chew into the logs, protecting him. He keeps firing. Sees Germans trying to flank left. swings the gun, fires a 20-round burst. 3 Germans fall. The flanking movement stops. But Warner knows this position is temporary. German mortars will range in on his muzzle flashes within minutes. He needs to move. But moving means giving up this perfect field of fire, means exposing himself, means carrying 45 pounds of weapon plus ammunition across open ground while Germans shoot at him. Warner fires one more long burst. 40 rounds. Empties the current belt. Creates maximum chaos. Then he breaks down the gun, disconnects it from the tripod, grabs the tripod with his left hand, holds the gun with his right. 70 pounds total. He runs. The new position sits 60 meters northwest. A shell crater, deeper than his original scrape. Better overhead protection, but narrower fields of fire. Warner crashes into the crater, sets up the tripod, mounts the gun, loads a fresh belt. The whole process takes 3 minutes 40 seconds. He's breathing hard. 5:41 hours. German forces have reorganized. They're advancing again. Warner sees a full company moving on his original position. They don't know he's moved. He waits. Let them commit. 120 meters. Warner opens fire from their flank. The Germans react with confusion. They'd prepared to assault a known position. Now fire comes from an unexpected angle. Warner pours 60 rounds into their formation. Sees 10, maybe 12 Germans fall. But he's revealed his new position. German officers react fast. They're experienced. They fought Americans for 6 months. They understand suppressive fire. 3 MG-42s open up on Warner's crater. German belt-fed machine guns fire wine 200 rounds per minute, 3 times faster than Warner's Browning. The noise is catastrophic. The volume of fire pins Warner down. He can't raise his head without catching bullets. German infantry uses the covering fire to advance. Warner hears them coming. Bootsteps, equipment rattling, voices shouting in German. He can't see them but knows they're close. 40 meters maybe. Closing fast. He risks it. Raises the gun barrel. Fires blind over the crater lip. 30-round burst. Screams. Someone falls. Germans hit the ground. Warner uses the pause to shift position within the crater. Moves 3 meters left. Grenades come next. Steel hand granite. Stick grenades. One lands 5 meters short. Explodes. Dirt fountains. Another lands in the crater. Warner sees it hit. 3 feet away. He has 2 seconds. He grabs it, throws it back. It explodes in midair. Shrapnel peppers the crater rim. Warner's left ear rings. Can't hear properly. Doesn't matter. He can still see. 5:49 hours. Warner spots German armor. 2 Panzer I-4s coming from the east. They're moving slowly, cautiously, scanning for anti-tank positions. Warner has no anti-tank weapons. His .30-06 rounds won't penetrate armor, but the tanks have infantry support, and infantry he can kill. Warner fires at the infantry surrounding the lead Panzer. 40-round burst. 4 Germans fall. The Panzer's turret swings toward his muzzle flash. Warner ducks. The 75mm cannon fires. The shell impacts 30 meters right. Close, but not close enough. The Panzer commander doesn't have Warner's exact position yet. Warner uses this. Fires again. Different angle. Makes the Panzer think there are multiple machine gun positions. The turret traverses uncertainly, but the second Panzer has better visibility. Its commander spots Warner's muzzle flash. The turret swings fast, locks on target. Warner sees this, knows what's coming. He grabs his gun, abandons the tripod. No time. Scrambles out of the crater, runs. The 75mm fires. The shell hits exactly where Warner was 3 seconds ago. The crater becomes a smoking pit. Warner hits the ground 15 meters away. His ears scream. His shoulder feels wrong, probably dislocated from diving with 70 pounds of equipment. He's lost the tripod. Checks the gun. Still functional. He army crawls to a fallen tree. Sets up using the trunk as support. No tripod means less stability. Means shorter, accurate range. But he's alive. 5:57 hours. German forces have identified Warner as the primary obstacle. They're coordinating now. Artillery begins falling. 105mm howitzers. The shells walk across the slope. Each impact a volcano of frozen earth and shrapnel. Warner counts intervals. 8 seconds between shells. He has 8 seconds to move between impacts. Shell lands 40 meters left. Warner counts. 1, 2, 3. He's up, running. 4, 5, 6. He dives behind a destroyed American half-track. 7, 8. Shell impacts where he was. The explosion lifts him off the ground, slams him into the half-track's steel hull. His ribs crack. He tastes blood. Doesn't matter. He's behind cover. The half-track is Company A's. Destroyed on December 17th. Warner knows this vehicle, knows the crew. They're dead. Bodies still inside, frozen solid. Warner doesn't look. He checks the half-track's cargo bed. Finds ammunition. 6 belts. Howie T-300 rounds. Somebody stockpiled this as an emergency cache. Warner grabs 3 belts. Leaves 3. Might need them later. German infantry closes in again. Warner sees them using the artillery fire as cover. They're advancing during the explosions. Smart tactics. Warner sets up the Browning on the half-track's roof. Braces it against the vehicle's frame. No tripod, but the metal provides stable support. He waits for the next artillery impact. Counts. Shell hits. Warner's up, gun ready. German infantry emerges from smoke. They didn't expect Warner here. He fires. 60-round burst. The closest Germans fall. Maybe 8 of them. The rest scatter. Warner traverses. Catches 3 more trying to reach cover. They don't make it. But the artillery adjusts. German forward observers have seen Warner's muzzle flash. They're calling corrections. Warner hears it in the shell impacts. They're tightening the pattern, bracketing the half-track. He has maybe 2 minutes before they range in perfectly. 6:04 hours. Tiger tank appears. Warner recognizes the profile instantly. Panzer VI Tiger. 60 tons. 80 main gun. Frontal armor too thick for anything the Americans have in this sector. The Tiger commander has clearly received orders. Find this machine gunner. Kill him. The Tiger moves deliberately toward Warner's position. The 80-mm turret swings back and forth. Searching. Warner makes a decision. Staying behind the half-track means the Tiger's 88mm turns him into paste. Moving means exposing himself to infantry. He chooses movement. Grabs the gun. Last 3 ammunition belts. Abandons everything else. Runs. The Tiger fires. The 80mm shell goes through the half-track like paper. The vehicle explodes. Fuel tank ignites. Orange fireball. Heat washes over Warner, even though he's already 20 meters away. The explosion lights up the entire slope. Every German unit now knows exactly where Warner is, or where he was. Warner reaches a tree line. 30 meters of scattered pines. Not much cover, but better than open ground. He sets up behind a thick trunk. Breathing hard. Ribs screaming. Shoulder wrong. Left ear still ringing. Right ear starting to ring too. Multiple artillery impacts too close. Doesn't matter. He loads a fresh belt. Checks the gun's action. Still functional. 6 to 11 hours. German forces reorganize for a coordinated assault. Warner sees them forming up. 3 companies at least. 400 men. The Tiger anchors their right flank. Panzer der Fours support the center. Infantry spreads across 800 meters of frontage. This isn't a probe. This is the main assault. They're coming to break through, and Warner is the only thing stopping them from rolling over the battalion's flank. The assault begins with artillery. Not scattered shells now. Full battery fire. 20 guns. The shells impact in rolling waves. The ground shakes. Trees explode into splinters. Warner presses into the frozen earth. Can't move during this. Can only endure. Shells walk across the tree line. One hits 15 meters away. Shrapnel hums through the air. Clips branches. Warner feels something hot across his back. Doesn't check. Can't do anything about it now. Artillery lifts. Standard German tactics. Barrage stops. Infantry advances immediately behind it. Americans are supposed to be stunned, disoriented, unable to respond. Warner's not stunned. He's waiting. He lets the German infantry close. 200 meters. 150. The first soldiers enter the tree line. Warner opens fire. The Browning hammers in long, continuous bursts. 20 rounds, 30, 40. Warner is past conservation now, past doctrine. He's fighting for time measured in minutes. Each German he kills is 10 seconds. Each squad he pins is 3 minutes. He fires until the barrel glows. Switches to a new belt. Fires again. German forces take casualties. Warner can't count accurately. 20, 30, maybe more. They withdraw. Not routed. Tactical withdrawal. They're regrouping. Warner uses the pause, moves again, 60 meters deeper into the trees, finds a depression, sets up, fresh belt, reorients on the German position. 6:28 hours. Second assault. Germans learned from the first. They're using smoke now. White phosphorus grenades. The smoke drifts through the tree line, cuts visibility to 20 meters. Warner can hear them coming but can't see them. He fires into the smoke. Short bursts, random directions. More psychological than tactical, keeping Germans cautious, making them think he has backup. That multiple guns are firing. Germans emerge from smoke 30 meters away. Warner sees gray uniforms, swings the gun, fires. The lead German falls. The rest hit the ground. Return fire. Mausers crack. MG-42 bursts. Warner's behind adequate cover, but the volume is intense. He can't sustain this position. Grabs the gun. Moves while they reload. 70 pounds. Broken ribs. Dislocated shoulder. He runs anyway. Third position. A blown-out foxhole. Previous occupant dead inside. Warner doesn't move the body. No time. Sets up beside it. Loads fresh belt. His hands shake. Exhaustion or cold. Doesn't matter. He forces them steady. 6:41 hours. Germans bring up the Tiger again. Warner hears it before he sees it. The deep rumble of the Maybach engine. 700 horsepower driving 60 tons. The Tiger crashes through the tree line, knocks over smaller pines like grass. The 80 turret traverses, looking for targets. Warner knows he can't fight a Tiger, can't damage it, can't even scratch it. But he can kill its infantry support. Armor without infantry is vulnerable. He waits. Lets the Tiger pass 20 meters to his left. Fires at the infantry following behind. 60-round burst. Catches them in the open. 4 fall. Maybe 5. The rest scatter. The Tiger's commander realizes his support is gone. He reverses. Backs out of the tree line. Can't advance without infantry cover. Warner has bought more time. But his ammunition is critical now. He counts remaining rounds. Maybe 400. 1 belt and partial belt. That's it. No more caches. No resupply. 400 rounds between him and being overrun. 6:53 hours. Warner moves to his 6th position since the engagement began. A cluster of rocks at the tree line's western edge. Good visibility across the slope. Good cover from frontal fire. But he's running on empty. 400 rounds. Maybe 10 minutes of sustained fire at his current rate. He needs resupply. Looks back toward battalion positions. 300 meters. He could run it in 4 minutes. Grab ammunition. Return in another 4. But 8 minutes undefended means Germans break through. The position collapses. He can't do it. Warner scans the area. Looks for dead American positions. Destroyed vehicles. Anywhere ammunition might remain. He sees something. 70 meters south. An American foxhole. Probably from the December 17th fighting. He can't tell if there's ammunition. Has to check. He leaves his position. Takes the Browning. Runs low. German snipers fire. Rounds snap past. One clips his pack. Tears through the canvas. Warner doesn't stop. Reaches the foxhole. Dives in. 2 dead Americans. 3rd Infantry Regiment markings. Warner searches fast. Finds 3 ammunition cans. Opens the first. Empty. Second. Empty. Third. Full. 250 round belt. Warner grabs it. Thanks the dead men. Runs back. German forces see him moving. Machine guns open up. MG-42s. 3 of them. The fire is apocalyptic. Tracers everywhere. Warner zigzags. 40 meters. 30. Round hits his left leg. Goes through the calf muscle. Clean through. Warner stumbles. Doesn't fall. Keeps moving. 20 meters. Another round hits his pack. Destroys his canteen. Water sprays. 10 meters. He dives back into his position. Leg bleeding badly. Warner wraps it with a bandage from his aid kit. Pulls it tight. Not proper treatment. Just enough to slow the bleeding. He loads the fresh belt. Now he has 650 rounds total. Maybe bought himself 20 more minutes. 7 to 07 hours. Germans are frustrated now. They've been attacking for 2 hours. Should have broken through in 30 minutes. Warner has cost them their timetable. German officers are visible now, shouting orders, reorganizing. They're going to commit everything next assault. Full coordinated push. Infantry, armor, artillery, everything. Warner sees friendly forces moving behind him. American soldiers repositioning, setting up new machine gun positions, emplacing anti-tank guns. The battalion is consolidating. Warner's delay is working. They needed time. He's buying it with blood. His blood. But he's nearly done. Leg bleeding despite bandage. Ribs make breathing difficult. Shoulder immobilized. Hearing almost gone. He's fired over 1,800 rounds. Barrel overheating. Gun cycling slower. Without maintenance, it'll jam soon. And he's down to 650 rounds. 1 major assault. That's all he can stop. 7 to 14 hours. The assault begins. German artillery. Heaviest barrage yet. The ground becomes liquid. Trees explode. Warner's position takes 3 direct hits. Near misses. Shrapnel everywhere. His position should be destroyed. Should be dead. But he's in a depression between rocks. The geometry saves him. Blast waves pass overhead. Shrapnel hits rocks. Warner lives. Artillery lifts. Infantry advances. Warner sees them through the smoke and dust. Hundreds. The entire German battalion committed. The Tiger leads the center. Panzer Fus on the flanks. Infantry everywhere. This is it. They're coming to finish him. Warner opens fire. The Browning sounds different now. Rougher. Hesitating between shots. Overheated. Wearing out. He fires anyway. Long bursts. 50 rounds. 60. Germans fall. But more keep coming. They're not stopping. Not taking cover. They're charging. Accepting casualties. Determined to break through. Warner's gun jams. The bolt locks on a bad cartridge. He clears it. Years of training automatic. Charges the bolt. Fires. 3 rounds. Jams again. Another bad round. Barrel too hot. Headspace wrong. Tolerance is failing. Warner clears it again. Fires. 5 rounds. Jams. He's out of time. Germans at 50 meters. Closing fast. Warner abandons the Browning. Grabs his M1 carbine. Fires semi-automatic. Drops 2 Germans. Fires again. 3 more rounds. Another German falls. His carbine holds 15 rounds. He has 2 magazines. 30 rounds total. 30 rounds against 200 men. Germans hit 30 meters. Warner empties his carbine. Loads second magazine. Keeps firing. Semi-automatic. Aimed shots. Training taking over. Each shot lands. Germans fall, but they keep coming. Warner's carbine clicks empty. Out of ammunition. He has 6 grenades. Pulls one. Throws. Explosion. Pulls another. Throws. Another explosion. Germans hesitate. They're taking casualties, but they're also close enough to see Warner's position clearly. They realize it's one man. One American soldier has been stopping an entire regiment. The German officers shout. They order the assault forward. Kill this American. Warner throws his last grenade. Explosion. Then nothing. No ammunition. No grenades. No weapons except his bayonet. Germans at 20 meters. Warner considers running, but running means the battalion's flank collapses. Means men die. His men. His friends. The kids from Pennsylvania and Ohio and Texas who trust him to protect them. 7:27 hours. American artillery begins falling. Fire from Battalion 105 mm howitzers. The shells impact between Warner's position and the advancing Germans. Danger, close fire. 50 meters from Warner. The explosions are catastrophic. Germans disappear in smoke and fire. The advance stops. Germans can't push through American artillery. They withdraw, fall back across the slope, leave their dead. Warner collapses behind his rocks, breathing hard, leg bleeding, ribs broken, shoulder dislocated, ears destroyed, hands burned from hot metal, but alive. The field telephone beside him rings. Warner picks up. Company commander, asking for status. Warner reports position held, enemy withdrawn, ammunition exhausted, wounded but mobile. Commander tells him to withdraw. Battalion line is consolidated, position secured, mission complete. Warner looks at his Browning. The barrel glows red. The receiver is cracked. The gun is destroyed. Fired over 2,000 rounds in 2 hours, 27 minutes. No weapon should survive that. But it did. Just long enough. Warner wraps the telephone wire around the Browning, drags it with him. 300 meters back to friendly lines. Takes him 18 minutes. Each step torture. But he won't leave the gun. Won't leave what saved his life and the lives of his battalion. He crosses into American positions at 7:49 hours. Medics rush forward, Warner standing, still holding his destroyed machine gun. Battalion commander arrives, looks at Warner, looks at the gun, looks at the field behind Warner. Over 60 German bodies visible from the American lines. The commander doesn't say anything, just nods. Warner nods back. Medics lead him away. Warner's action on December 21st, 1944, secured the 2nd Infantry Division's northern flank at a critical moment in the Battle of the Bulge. German planners had calculated the 12th SS Panzer Division would break through American defenses at Dom Bütgenbach by 8 hours December 21st. This would open roads to Malmedy and Stavelot, where fuel depots contained 3 million gallons of gasoline. German tanks were running on empty. Capturing these depots meant the offensive could continue toward the Meuse River. Warner's 2-hour, 27-minute stand delayed German forces long enough for the 2nd Infantry Division to consolidate defensive positions. By 8 more hours, when German forces finally withdrew, American anti-tank guns were emplaced. Artillery was registered on approach routes, and reserve companies had moved into blocking positions. The breakthrough opportunity closed. German casualties during Warner's engagement totaled 63 confirmed dead, estimated 120 wounded. These losses came from the 12th SS Panzer Division's Assault Battalion, reducing their effective strength by approximately 15%. More critically, the delay cost German forces their attack schedule. They'd planned to capture Dom Bütgenbach and move west by midday December 21st. Instead, they spent 3 more days fighting for the village. By December 24th, American reinforcements had arrived in overwhelming strength. The German offensive in this sector died. The broader Battle of the Bulge hinged on timing. German success required reaching the Meuse River before Allied reserves arrived. Every hour of delay meant more American and British units deployed to block German advances. Warner's action, combined with similar defensive stands by other 2nd Infantry Division units, bought approximately 36 hours. During those 36 hours, the 82nd Airborne Division reached Bastogne. The 101st Airborne established defensive positions, and elements of Patton's Third Army began their northern pivot. The German offensive, which might have succeeded if executed on schedule, instead ground to a halt in brutal attrition warfare. At the theater level, Warner's stand represented something larger than tactical success. Throughout the Battle of the Bulge, American forces demonstrated resilience and adaptability that German planners hadn't anticipated. German intelligence assumed American troops, after 6 months of continuous combat, would be exhausted and demoralized. Individual actions like Warner's proved otherwise. American soldiers, even when isolated, outnumbered, and outgunned, continued fighting. This psychological reality changed how German commanders assessed subsequent operations. If one American machine gunner could delay a regiment, what could an entire division accomplish? The 38th Infantry Regiment, following the battle, received a Presidential Unit citation. The citation specifically mentioned defensive actions at Dom Bütgenbach on December 21st to 24th, 1944. Warner's name appeared in the citation as one of several soldiers whose actions exemplified extraordinary heroism. The regiment's defensive success at Dom Bütgenbach became a case study taught at the infantry school at Fort Benning. Future officers learned how individual soldiers, through courage and skill, could influence battles far beyond their apparent capability. Major General Walter M. Robertson presented Warner his Medal of Honor on September 8, 1945, at Camp Kilmer, New Jersey. The 2nd Infantry Division had returned from Europe. The war was over. Warner stood at attention, wearing his dress uniform, left arm still in a sling from December's wounds. The citation read, Staff Sergeant Henry F. Warner, Company A, 38th Infantry Regiment, 2nd Infantry Division, displayed conspicuous gallantry and intrepidity at risk of life above and beyond the call of duty near Dom Bütgenbach, Belgium, on December 21st, 1944. When enemy forces launched a coordinated assault against his battalion's defensive positions, Sergeant Warner voluntarily occupied an exposed forward observation position armed with a machine gun. Despite overwhelming enemy superiority in numbers and firepower, Sergeant Warner engaged attacking enemy forces for 2 hours, inflicting heavy casualties and disrupting enemy formations. When subjected to concentrated enemy artillery fire, Sergeant Warner moved his weapon multiple times to maintain effective fields of fire. Though wounded by enemy fire, and nearly overrun by advancing enemy infantry, Sergeant Warner continued firing until his ammunition was exhausted. His extraordinary heroism and devotion to duty enabled his battalion to consolidate defensive positions and repel the enemy attack. Sergeant Warner's actions reflect highest credit upon himself and the United States Army. The official documentation credited Warner with 63 confirmed enemy killed, estimated 120 wounded. These numbers came from body counts conducted after the battle. Actual numbers were likely higher. Many German casualties withdrew with their units. Some bodies remained buried under snow until spring. German unit records captured after the war indicated the assault battalion attacking Warner's sector suffered approximately 200 total casualties on December 21st. Warner's position accounted for most of them. What the citation didn't capture was the impossibility of what Warner accomplished. Military analysis after the battle calculated that holding Warner's position for 2 hours against regimental strength assault required minimum 4 machine guns, 12 crew members, adequate overhead protection, and artillery support. Warner had 1 gun, no crew, minimal cover, and artillery that arrived only at the end of the engagement. By doctrinal standards, his position should have lasted 15 minutes maximum. Warner lasted 2 hours, 27 minutes. Fellow soldiers who saw Warner return to friendly lines described him as barely recognizable. Blood-soaked uniform, destroyed equipment, 1,000-yard stare. But walking under his own power, still carrying his machine gun. Battalion Sergeant Major later said Warner's gun was so damaged it should never have functioned beyond the first 100 rounds. The barrel was cracked. The receiver showed stress fractures. The bolt was worn beyond specifications, yet it fired over 2,000 rounds, as if the weapon itself understood what was at stake. Warner returned to Allentown, Pennsylvania in October 1945. He married Grace Elizabeth Thompson on November 15, 1945. The ceremony took place at St. Paul's Lutheran Church. Warner wore his Medal of Honor. Local newspapers covered the wedding. "Hero Comes Home," read the headline in the Allentown Morning Call. Warner worked construction initially, helped rebuild the city's infrastructure, bridges, roads, public buildings. He didn't talk about the war. Friends and family learned not to ask. Grace understood. She saw him wake up screaming occasionally, saw him flinch at loud noises. She never pushed, just stayed close, provided stability. The Army recalled Warner in 1950 when Korea started. He served as a training instructor at Fort Dix, New Jersey, taught machine gun tactics to new recruits. His students remembered him as quiet but intense. He demonstrated procedures with precision, explained fundamentals clearly, never raised his voice, never needed to. When Staff Sergeant Warner told you to do something, you did it. Warner received additional honors over the years. France awarded him the Croix de Guerre in 1947. Belgium presented him the Military Cross in 1948. The Belgian government cited his actions specifically at Dom Bütgenbach, noting that his defense contributed to liberating their country. Warner attended ceremonies, shook hands, accepted medals, never spoke publicly about what happened that December morning. Warner retired from the Army in 1962 at the rank of Sergeant First Class. 20 years of service, multiple combat awards, multiple foreign decorations. He and Grace settled in Allentown, had 3 children, 2 sons, 1 daughter. Warner worked as a security supervisor at Bethlehem Steel until 1983. His co-workers knew he was a war hero, knew about the Medal of Honor, but Warner never discussed it at work. He was just Henry. The quiet guy who did his job well and went home to his family. Allentown named a street after Warner in 1975. Warner Drive, near the elementary school he attended as a child. The ceremony included local politicians, veterans groups, and community leaders. Warner attended reluctantly. He didn't believe he deserved special recognition. He'd only done what needed doing. Thousands of men did the same. Most of them died. Warner felt like surviving didn't make him special, just lucky. Henry F. Warner died on March 8, 1994, at age 73. Heart failure. Grace survived him by 6 years. They're buried together at Grandview Cemetery in Allentown. The headstone lists his rank, service dates, and Medal of Honor. Nothing else. Warner wouldn't have wanted more. The 38th Infantry Regiment maintains a memorial wall at their headquarters listing all Medal of Honor recipients. Warner's name appears fourth, chronologically. Below his name is a plaque with a single sentence. One man, one gun, one impossible morning. That's Warner's legacy. Not speeches, not ceremonies. Just a simple truth. That 23-year-old sergeant from Pennsylvania changed history because he refused to quit. Warner's story represents what made victory possible in World War II. Not just industrial capacity or strategic planning or technological advantage. Individual human choice in moments of absolute crisis. Warner could have withdrawn. Military doctrine supported withdrawal. His position was untenable by every tactical standard. Staying was tactically unsound, strategically questionable, personally suicidal. Warner stayed, not because of ideology or hatred of Germans or abstract concepts like freedom. Warner stayed because men behind him depended on his machine gun, because withdrawing meant those men died, because Warner understood something fundamental about combat that no training manual captures. Sometimes one person at one place at one moment makes the difference. Sometimes everything hinges on individual choice. The physical impossibility of Warner's action defies explanation. Human beings have limits. Bodies break, minds fracture. 2 hours of sustained combat while wounded, without support, against overwhelming force should have exceeded any soldier's capacity. Warner exceeded it anyway. Not through superhuman ability, through stubborn refusal to accept the inevitable. The German regiment should have broken through. Warner wouldn't let them. Warner's legacy extends beyond military history. His action demonstrates how individuals shape events far beyond their apparent influence. One machine gunner delayed a regiment. That delay affected a division. That division's stand influenced an entire battle. That battle determined the war's timeline. Wars are won by millions of small actions. Warner's wasn't small, but it started as one man making one decision in one frozen morning in Belgium. These stories matter because they reveal truth about human capacity. We're capable of more than we believe. When everything seems impossible, when logic says quit, when survival demands retreat, some people stay. Some people fight. Some people decide that principles matter more than probability. Warner was one of those people. So were thousands of others whose names we've forgotten. Their choices built victory. Their sacrifices earned freedom. Their stories deserve remembrance. If this story moved you the way it moved us, do me a favor. Hit that like button. Every single like tells YouTube to show this story to more people. Hit subscribe and turn on notifications. We're rescuing forgotten stories from dusty archives every single day. Stories about soldiers who faced impossible odds with one machine gun and refuse to quit. Real people, real heroism. Drop a comment right now and tell us where you're watching from. Are you watching from the United States, United Kingdom, Canada, Australia? Our community stretches across the entire world. You're not just a viewer. You're part of keeping these memories alive. Tell us your location. Tell us if someone in your family served. Just let us know you're here. Thank you for watching, and thank you for making sure Henry F. Warner doesn't disappear into silence. These men deserve to be remembered, and you're helping make that happen.